and a warm welcome. You're watching Mirror Live with me, Griha Siddiqui. Let's take you through the top story that we're tracking at this hour. It is, of course, coming from the Delhi High Court, which has delivered a split verdict on petitions seeking criminalization of marital rape. While Justice Rajiv Shakdher struck down the exception 2 that protects men who are accused of forced non-consensual intercourse with their wives from criminal prosecution under Section 76, I believe, from the IPC, Justice C. Hari disagreed, saying that the exception doesn't violate Article 14. In fact, this is something that has come out of the court. The court has, in fact, now asked, both the judges have granted liberty to the parties to appeal before the Supreme Court, saying that the case involves a question of constitutional law. My colleague Meenakshi now joins me on the broadcast for more updates on the story. Meenakshi, very important piece of news that has come out of the Delhi High Court. We were discussing and deliberating on what is going to happen when it comes to this entire debate of criminalization of marital rape. There were petitions that have been pending in the court from the year 2015 to 2017 that possibly could have been looked at, but it's a split verdict. Now, does the matter go to the Supreme Court?
Well, yes, absolutely, Griha. You see, like you rightly mentioned, we have been deliberating on this topic on Mirror now since yesterday. And what this split verdict has done is this. While the verdict itself, like you rightly mentioned, is inconclusive because both the justices have not formed a conforming point of view. They've had differing interpretations. But what the split verdict has done is this, Griha, that it has brought this debate in the public domain. It has added fresh impetus to this debate of criminalization of marital rape in India. And it has also paved the way now for the petitioners to knock on the doors of the Supreme Court. It has paved the way for a final interpretation of the statute by the top court of this land. So that also wasn't happening for some time now. But as a result of today's judgment from the Supreme Court, given the fact that Justice Shakdher and his brother judge have dissenting points of view on the interpretation of this exception granted to husbands as far as the rape provision is concerned, it has paved the way for the petitioners to knock on the doors of the Supreme Court. And like we have seen in the past, ultimately in contentious interpretations of statute laws in India, it is the Supreme Court which is the final arbiter. It is the Supreme Court which goes on and lends new meaning to the interpretation that is followed by not just the legislature, but also adds new meaning as far as judicial interpretation is concerned. So that is what has happened. The Delhi High Court today has, pronounced a dissenting point of view. It is a split verdict, but this split verdict has added new impetus for the petitioners to knock on the doors of the Supreme Court. It has paved the way for the Supreme Court to interfere in this particular debate in a much more, conclusive manner and settle this for once and for all going forward.
All right. Meenakshi, thank you so much for joining us with all those details there. Like Meenakshi was rightfully mentioning, this is something that's come out of the Delhi High Court, a split verdict that has come out of the Delhi High Court when it comes to the petitions that have challenged and in fact sought criminalization of marital rape. So many cases have come to light, like I was mentioning, pending cases that were before the court since the year 2015 to 2017. All of that was being looked at. The Delhi High Court, however, delivered a split verdict on the petition seeking criminalization of marital rape. And this was a two-judge bench that was being presided over by Justice Rajiv Shakdher, who in fact struck down the exception 2. This is the exception that protects a man who is in fact accused of forced non-consensual intercourse with his wife from criminal prosecution under Section 376 of the IPC. However, Justice C. Hari disagreed, and he in fact said that the exception doesn't violate Article 14 or 19 or even Article 21. I'm now joined on the broadcast by Ms. Brinda Arige, who is, of course, going to be talking further on, the verdict that's come out of the Delhi High Court. Brinda, how do you take this split verdict?
I think this split verdict was expected because we know that the court also do not want to get into any kind of judicial activism in this particular issue. We know that the parliamentarians and politicians and our elected representatives have been time and again talking about such a law, if it comes, would break families. And this is a patriarchal thought, it's a misogynistic thought, but it is in the ball is in the court of the parliamentarians. They need to change their mindset and put a stop to this kind of talk and language. Because when they say that marital rape, if a woman wants to come out and complain, is going to break families, are they implying that a woman who may be married or living with her spouse or partner can be raped for the sake of keeping the family together? Because that sounds bizarre when a country like ours is talking about gender equality, women's rights, empowerment. Why not have the law? People have also been saying, why not the Domestic Violence Act? The Domestic Violence Act is a remedial act. It will not penalize the spouse or any other male member of the family. They also talked about 498A. That is for grievous violence, grievous hurt, and something that has happened over a period of time. Cruelty in marriage and cruelty for the sake of dowry. So two different things. But when a rape happens, it may not be for either of this. And that is what they are asking, that we
Brinda,
want a law.
it's interesting
Also,
that you say that the court was possibly not ready for judicial activism. It's an interesting choice of term that you have, in fact, used here on the broadcast. But however, I'd like to bring my viewers' attention to what really came out of the Karnataka High Court when the court, in fact, underlined this particular, the case that it was looking at, calling this entire act as regressive. And the husband going ahead and challenging it in the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court refusing to quash the Karnataka High Court judgment. So that is something that also has happened. So do you think when this case eventually is being put forth in the apex court, we probably see a step in the right direction when it comes to probably the criminalization of marital rape that we've been looking at?
Hopefully, because a statement can be made by the court that it is regressive, that it is unacceptable, it violates the rights of a woman, the dignity of a woman. So those are statements made. But like you pointed out, we hope to have a progressive verdict when it goes to the apex court. Consent is something that must be understood.
Right. All right. Brinda, thank you so much for joining us on the broadcast on that very important discussion that we are having on the criminalization of marital rape, a split verdict that's come out of the Delhi High Court. Meanwhile, we have got reactions that have begun to pour in. Let's take a look at that.
He's talking about it. Whether we have seen the light of the day, we might see it later in the Supreme Court, but at least discourse has started, which was very important. Nobody wanted to discuss, so this is what is a positive sign. Yes, there is a split kind of a view on this, not only between the judges, in between the citizens also, between men and women, between women and women also. So everybody is concerned about the misuse of this law, which is a very genuine concern, but one should also come out with solution that how it is not misused. Like every law is misused in this country. We need to come out with solutions that it should not be misused.
So ma'am, now this matter will go to Supreme.
Definitely, I really look forward that Supreme Court give a larger bench, definitely do a lot of discussions and come out with a watertight law on marital rapes, which definitely will protect a lot of women in our country. Nobody talks about it, but I know working at the grassroots level, a lot of women suffer and they don't talk about it because they are not heard. Now the law will protect them, so definitely I am hoping that Supreme Court should show us some light.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And Yogita Bayana, in fact, is joining me live on the broadcast for her thoughts on this particular split verdict. Ms. Bayana, thank you so much for being a part of this conversation here on the broadcast here on Mirror Now. Though we have had a split verdict, do you think this is a step in the right direction to probably let that conversation really keep flowing when it comes to these deliberations on criminalization of marital rape?
Absolutely. So I have been saying that I know we did not get a clear mandate. We might not get it in the Supreme Court also. We might get it. But I am happy about it that at least we are talking, your channel is discussing, all the media is raising it, and there is a discourse in the public also. So people, where we never heard of marital rape till last year, people never knew. I mean, not as an activist, but as citizen, not many people knew about it, that something like this can also exist. We have reached to this level within few years. Now we will reach to the logical conclusion also soon, because a criminal is a criminal, a crime is a crime. It doesn't prevent, like, a husband in the garb of husband being married to one, doesn't permit them to the kind of rape someone or sexually abuse someone. Because earlier we never knew the definition of consent. Now people know what is consent, what is not consent, and there is a discussion, there is a discourse, there is a deliberation, which is a good sign as a country. And I'm hoping it will get clear in the Supreme Court, if not sooner, maybe later. But we are heading in the right direction.
Yogita, the fact that, the court is still deliberating, we do not have a clear verdict when it comes to this particular issue. This has been going on, and I was speaking to my earlier panelist, Ms. Brinda Adige, on the same. Now, one of the judges who actually disagreed and did not really think that that exception should not be granted to the male who is accused of non-consensual intercourse with his wife. Now, he says that it does not violate Article 14 or 19 or even 21. That is also coming out of the Delhi High Court today. So when we talk about equal rights of men and women before law, don't you think this is something which is very, very important? And this entire conversation around consent, which has become so important these days, that also comes under it?
See, we can definitely agree to disagree or whatever it is. But when you really look at it as a crime, rape is a very heinous crime. And it is all the matter, even if it is not a marital rape, normal rape, also the court only decide one factor, that it was consensual or not consensual. So that is the only thin line. Whether, so as I said, so now that zero downing it to being married to one, I'm pretty sure we will come to a logical conclusion on this. And Article 14, Article 21, definitely. But beyond that is IPC section, which deals with a rape. I mean, rape is a rape. So, coming back to the criminalizing, the rapist, whether husband or anybody related to the women, it is a rape. So I think beyond that is a crime, which is main basis of any decision which the larger bench, apex bench, might take, or the High Court when it looks at it like that. So there is a violation. Violation is a violation. So bottom line.
Absolutely. Yogita, thank you so much for joining us with all those very important inputs that you have put forth when it comes to this entire discourse around criminalization of marital rape, and how this particular conversation is only going to continue from here on. Because remember, there has been a split verdict which has come out of the Delhi High Court. Now, possibly it is going to be taken to the apex court of the country. And remember, there were also developments that had come out yesterday after the Karnataka High Court verdict. The person who was accused of rape, in fact, went ahead and approached the apex court, and the Supreme Court refused to quash the Karnataka High Court verdict. And Karnataka High Court had famously said that a rape is rape, act is an act, and that has to be looked at in that regard only, and thereby there was no relief that was granted to the husband. So this is something that we'll continue to talk about. However, let's